2 stints. You were really a valuable component of selecting the new waste hauler, which I think a lot of people are happy with. You're really going to be missed on our board. We really appreciated your leadership and everything that you provided to us. And I'm going to miss you personally too a lot. So thanks a lot.
Well, I'll still be around. I'm sure I'll bump into you, but I've appreciated working with you and your staff down there. Everybody's been just great.
Well, you've done a great job on behalf of myself and staff. We really want to thank you. And
Thank you.
I don't think the agency would be as far along without you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll be short. I just want to sincerely thank you, Jack, for all your service to the county and working with Jack over the years. Jack's been a tremendous supporter of my efforts in terms of tax collection and treasury, and I really appreciate that. One thing about Jack that always strikes me is that whether you agree with him or not, Jack always has done and continues to do what he thinks is in the best interest of his constituents. And I sincerely appreciate that, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you around.
We will.
Jim? Okay, I didn't see you back.
Sorry.
You gotta stand up fast.
Jack, I'm here representing the Lassen County Fire Officers Association, and I've had the privilege of working for Jack and with Jack on many of the issues from Likely to Highway 70 on different fire protection districts and different issues. And thank you for your continued and your unwavering support when it comes to the fire service and the men and women that volunteer in this county.
Thank you very much.
I also want to thank you, Jack. In all these years that you've been on the board, you've demonstrated a lot of leadership, professionalism and integrity, and I second what Maria said, great compassion for the clients of Health and Social Services. You always listened when you asked us questions or needed information, and then you made thoughtful, ethical decisions, and as a Health and Social Services Director, I couldn't ask for more than that. And I want to thank you for all your years of service. And you were a joy to work with, and you have my phone number. Come on by anytime.
Thank you very much.
And basically, I just want to echo what everyone else has said. You have my respect. You've always been so professional, easy to talk to, and I know that you have everyone else's best interests at heart. So thank you for your service. We'll miss you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, restart, Mr. Chapman.
I'm going to go. Aaron wants to go.
Okay, Aaron, go ahead.
Well, Jack, I've known you for many years. I've had a very short time of serving with you, but I've greatly enjoyed it, and I've always reaffirmed your professionalism and your demeanor and your parliamentarian procedure and your eloquence on how you handle your stuff. And it's just serving up with you up here is just reinforce that, and you are one to be commended for how you handle yourself and the professionalism and conduct that you have. And thank you, and we'll be seeing you now.
Thank you, Aaron. Absolutely.
I would like to add, if I could, Mr. Vice Chairman, I've had the opportunity to either know or work with all the supervisors that have served over the last 50 years. I grew up in this town, and so I knew the ones that preceded us and have been there for many years. I know a lot of people maybe look down on that as being not worthy, but I can tell you it's a worthy service. There's approximately been about 100 people who have served on the Board of Supervisors in the 150 years that the county has existed. And it's something that it's a labor of love. And I have to say, of the people that I've known and have worked with, Jack Hansen has got to be the nicest guy to ever serve on the Lassen County Board of Supervisors. And his demeanor is oftentimes taken to task. But I tell you, underneath the discussion and all the hate and discontent that comes forward, Jack has remained and has always been a very nice guy. And I think that is why I have the greatest respect for you, Jack, and it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you, not only in the last 10 years on the board, but prior to that time when you were on the Planning Commission, when you served on the Susanville Elementary School Board. You worked for this community for the 30 years that you've lived here. think that that will not go unnoticed by those people who are your friends.
Thank you very much, Jim.
I just want to echo as well what everyone else has said. I've only been in this position for just under 2 years, and I have so enjoyed working for you. Your professionalism and your integrity have always been at the highest. I've seen you struggle with decisions, and you don't take it lightly. Through all of that, you've always remained such a gentleman, which has just been a pleasure for me to work with. I think you're leaving some very big shoes to fill, and I wish you and Darcy all the best.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Jack, I too have enjoyed working with you and come to know you as a man of honor and respect and professionalism. As you go into your retirement and you look back on your time in Lassen County, I think you can measure it by one simple thing, that you left the Lassen County community and the Lassen County organization better than you found it.
Thank you, Marty.
Okay, and again, I would say, working with Jack, I've known him for years, I've known his family, and there's not a higher, better degree of people in this county and this nation than Jack and his family and the Agatals, and they're just great people, and it makes me feel good to be there for Jack.
I really appreciate it. And as I said, I consider all of you my friends, and I'm not disappearing, so that's going to be a good thing. I'll certainly see everybody around. If there's nothing else on that, you're handing the gavel back to me, and I can recess for 5 minutes. So we'll take a recess for 5 minutes, and then we'll take up item C1, our public hearing, our 10:15 public hearing.
No, you try to.
I mean, that's a
I know, I came in just in time.
I was just thinking we should, when it comes
okay.
I would have grabbed it myself.
say that again.
She's one with 6 months. Kirsten, I'll be watching for the lights to go on at your house.
In the morning.
Listen, you guys made such a great circle of friends around there every time you walk in. But you will, definitely. Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I'm sure we're already getting started, but that's the other tomorrow. Who knows, I might bring by a new thing, a new piece.
Please. Yes.
You should come down. Hey. Anybody else? He called me the other day.
So can I look for applications?
You can look, on the BMO committee, probably so. The Long Valley Board, I'll probably leave that to somebody down in that area. I'll give you 1 out of 2, how's that? I would, I'm not gonna be a stranger, especially with planning. Thank you. We miss you too, but I'll be around. That's a good thing, you don't have to say goodbye.
No, she just, she says things that.
I'll be around. If you're ever watching the game very often, remember, I got my own.
That's right, that is true, that is true.
Thanks very much, Paul. Yeah, we can do that anytime. I'm much more free on it. You know, it used to be with Darcy and I, it used to be when we were going out. It used to be the 4-H coordinator on one hand, and you had the supervisor on the other. So who's gonna, no, that's exactly right. But now that's not the case. So here I am, the designated driver. You guys do a great job. I know what I said. I mean, you just I'll be out at least once a month. Marcy, why don't you keep that stuff perfect? They don't like it, especially in the summer months, right, Paul? I'm glad you left with me. You know, really.
The election code is very I went to training. Well, last time she tried to hug me, I had a cold. I was trying to be nice. They weren't very.
The problem with having a kid, I think they have to get on to make sure
I'm sure.
Keep up busy, so
Well, I would assume that they would do that anyway.
What do you think, Thomas?
my kids in school, I don't think they can have after 8 o'clock in the morning. Because I don't want to get up.
Pardon me, could you do me a favor and shut that door?
Board
I
can
can't
come back
see.
into session.
Please, Ruth.
We're going to take up item C1, which is a public hearing, a 10:15 scheduled public hearing, variance 2013-027, John Johnson.
Thank you.
And obviously, this is a public hearing. We'll take the staff report, then we'll open it up for questions from board members, then open up the public hearing and listen to the public, see what they have to say about this issue. So let's go ahead with the staff report, please.
Thank you. Public hearing to consider variance application number 2013-27, John Johnson. The applicant is proposing a 840 square foot covered patio which is attached to an existing single-family residence located 6 feet from the rear property line. The proposed structure does not meet the required 20-foot setback pursuant to the zoning code. The project site is located at 687-815 Hazel Way, approximately 0.1 miles east of Mahogany Way in Spalding, 8.007, 23440. Today, the action request is to conduct a public hearing pursuant to County Code 18-110-30 and receive the Planning Commission's recommendation on the variance and consider the application pursuant to County Code 18-110-50 and adopt a resolution approving the variance or disapproving the variance. So the Planning Commission did consider this at their last meeting. The backstory here is Mr. Johnson hired a person to construct this covered patio. At the end of the day, the person was not a licensed contractor. Deceived Mr. Johnson in terms of asking whether or not a building permit was required. He said it wasn't.
That was the permit issue.
Yeah, and so the covered patio was constructed. Can we get a slide of the house? There we go. That's actually a really good one. That's looking at the rear property line. The fence is not the actual property line. It's a couple feet off it, so the fence could be pushed back a few more feet if you wanted to know exactly where the property line was. And you can see the roof pitch is consistent with the roof pitch of the house, which is 3 and 12. And I mention that only because subsequent of building this patio, we did pass some changes in the zoning ordinance that require 412 pitches in residential areas. But at the end of the day, the planning commission thought, that makes more sense being consistent with the roof pitch that was there than trying to do something more drastic. And so, as I said, this is a variance, and one of the things that has to happen is the board needs to make 3 findings when they're looking at a variance application pursuant to the zoning code. So the first one is, are there exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the land, building, or use referred to in the application which would not generally apply to other situations. And that's really, the other 2 findings are fairly easier to make. That's the tough one. And in a traditional rule, you see that finding and you think, okay, is there some rock outcrop? Is there something that, an archaeological site that, we shouldn't build on? And so those are the kind of things that normally come up. In this case, what the planning commission found was that Mr. Johnson was lied to, and that's the exceptional circumstance that led to why they are recommending approval. So real quickly,
Lied to by who?
by the contract, by the person that said they were a contractor, who it ends up wasn't even a licensed contractor. We've actually spent some time trying to research where this person is. We haven't had good results. The last the applicant heard was the person was in jail. But we haven't been able to confirm or deny that. And it's even more problematic because we don't know the person's last name anymore. So, but the applicant is in the audience if the board wishes to ask him any questions. But again, the planning commission did recommend approval of this variance. There is no structure on the other side of the fence currently. You can see in the picture there's a motorhome parked there, but it's not a permanent structure. And just, again, commentary, we take this very seriously because you're imposing on a setback that someday somebody on that other side of the fence will likely want to build and wonder why somebody didn't have to meet that setback. So it's a serious issue because it'll be there forever, and it does affect the people that own the property on the other side of the line. However, the good news is there's nothing there currently. So they'll kind of buyer beware. They'll know, they'll see that structure when they go to build something. So any questions on the staff report?
And more is, the people next door, I assume, been notified?
Yes, actually, thank you. So during, subsequent of the planning commission meeting, there was one letter that was submitted in opposition to approving the variance, and that's from somebody that is like 5 parcels down. It doesn't show on our map.
Are the neighbors here today?
That I don't know. I know the applicant is here. And going back to, because variances are normally tied to, defensible space, structures, that kind of thing for access. We have a letter of support from the local fire department as well.
Any other questions of the staff report? Supervisor Chapman?
I have one
Please.
question. The planning commission's recommendation on the conditions of approval, so the structure is already built?
Yes, you were looking at it in a
Yeah,
second.
that's what I kind of got the impression from the picture. But the second condition on the Exhibit A states, the applicant shall obtain all necessary building permits from the Lassen County Department of Planning and Zoning Services. So if it's already built, why do they need a building permit?
Well, because any structure that's built that is a structure under the Uniform Building Code needs a building permit.
Okay.
And so we're unringing the bell, and so they will need to go back, get the permit that they would have had to get otherwise. And that's a good thing, because you're looking at a 312 roof pitch, and those are commonly used in high snow load areas, but it comes with a lot of engineering, and so we want to make sure that that is done correctly.
Okay, so you go through that process, and you determine that there were certain things that weren't satisfactory. Does then that mean that they have to dismantle it and then rebuild it?
Yes? They will have to get a building permit like anybody else would. And, so just going back to, this is a case-by-case situation, and it is, I say that because...
How long has the structure been there?
3 years. Good, that's a good point, because, everything's a case-by-case, because I don't want people coming in all the time going, well, I just didn't know, no, I built it, and now hey, but, because they really did know they needed a building permit. The evidence that helped the planning commission make the finding that this person didn't know was that he put in a building permit for an attachment onto his garage, and so when the building inspector came out there and saw the work that had been recently done, that's how we became to know about it. And so I think that's pretty clear evidence that this person was lied to, didn't think he needed a building permit, and that's how the planning commission arrived at that justification. He's since submitted engineered plans for that structure.
Any other questions, the staff report? Aaron, you got a question?
I got one. Part of the deal here, Marty, was the fire chief, he come out and looked at it and said that the yard was green and well-maintained, debris was picked up, et cetera, so therefore it wasn't necessarily like fire hazard. But what's gonna happen when these people, 2 years from now, if they move in and somebody else comes in and they don't take care of it like these people do, now you have a fire hazard with an infringement?
Right, those unfortunately are the kind of questions that the board needs to wrestle with, and that's, it happens, that happens all the time. The only thing I can say that I know is, happening right now is Mr. Gallagher is out there. He is leading the way in terms of CSD enacting their own fire safe regulations. He's in fact helped our department, our code enforcement officer, go to other jurisdictions, other CSDs, and basically tell them how to become your own enforcer of weed abatement, those kind of things. So, it is one of the places that is currently doing a great job in terms of that. It doesn't mean that they'll be doing a great job 10 years from now. Doesn't mean that you aren't doing something that is out of the ordinary if you approve this.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, the fire department up there is really on top of things, doing a great job, and I don't think you can look at, who the next owner will be, because that could be any lot. I mean, any lot could be well maintained through fire, protection, the next owner may do nothing, so, I don't think we can go by that, but they have a fire department there that's really up on top of fire prevention. I don't have a problem.
Are there any other questions of the staff report, and then we'll take the public comment? Did you have a question of the staff report, Ms. Spencer, or would you like to make a comment
No,
on the project?
I have a question for Maury.
Surely, you may address it.
Would this be an issue, Maury, if that was freestanding? If it wasn't attached?
Yeah, it'd be the same situation. It's infringing upon the setback that's required in that zoning district.
So you couldn't put say a shed 5 feet from the, one of those tough sheds 5 feet from the fence?
Well, we can start splitting hairs. Certain structures don't require a building permit if it wasn't for human habitation and it was below 120 square feet. We don't require a building permit, so we wouldn't necessarily know where somebody's putting something. Legal minds have differed on whether that means that you can put something in a setback or not, but that's not the question here today.
But you're saying that that would be the same if it was a freestanding structure,
Yes.
like a gazebo?
If it came right up, let's say it just came right up to the manufactured home and didn't touch it, it would still require a building permit. And it would still have to adhere to the zoning setbacks.
Any other questions of the staff report before we still haven't got into the public comment portion of this, obviously, and we're going to do so. Any other questions of the staff report? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And now we'd like to open it up to the rest of the audience. And I would take any comments from audience members who oppose the granting of this variance. So the landowners, just hold on for just a minute and we'll get to you. Is there anybody in the audience in opposition to the board granting this variance? We'll give you another opportunity, but seeing none, now I'd like to go ahead and take comments from those who are supporting the granting of this variance. And if the landowners are here and if they'd like to speak, we'd be happy to hear from you at this time, or your choice. I'm sorry, you're going to probably have to approach the podium. I'm going to have to ask you to do that if I could. And then if I could, sir, I'd like to have your name. Of course, we already know it, but be that as it may, this is for the recording, if you don't mind, sir.
My name is John Johnson. I own that property. That structure's been up there probably 6 years, maybe. At that time, if I'd have known I needed a permit, I would have certainly got one. I have a project going on out there right now, and there was no problem for me to get a permit. But I didn't know at that time that I needed a permit. I took somebody else's word for it, and I shouldn't have, but I'm willing to pay the penalties for it and everything. So that's about all I have to say, but I usually go along with anything anybody says, but at that time, I just really didn't know that I needed a permit for that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Hold on, and I'm going to ask board members, do you have any questions of the property owner? Okay. Well, you have a very nice looking piece of property out there. Thank you very much.
I try to keep it that way.
Yeah, it shows.
And by the way, I will never sell that property. It's going to go to my, my daughter and son-in-law. They love it out there, so.
We'll just do what we can to get the lake level up for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for coming today, Mr. Johnson.
Sure.
Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak for or against, or have any comments that they would like to make on the granting of this variance? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this deliberation and bring it back up to board members. Certainly, we can ask questions, have some discussion, and let's come to conclusion. Supervisor Alba?
Marty, I got a question. You said that this is getting engineered now to make sure it meets the snow load criteria. And say it does not meet it, he has to come in and tear it down. If he wants to rebuild, is he gonna have to come back to us for a variance waiver again, or how?
No, actually, if you approve the variance today, the permit would be perfunctory.
But it's still gonna require the engineer, he's gonna have to go through all that to make sure it's.
Yep.
And if it's not good enough, tear it down, and then if he wanted to rebuild it, he could,
Right,
for engineers,
right.
without going back.
If it was substantially the same thing, if it started being a totally different structure, I would want to get the board's blessing again.
Thank you, Supervisor Alba. Any other board members have any questions or comments on this matter?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the variance of the variance number 2013-027, and do we have a number of the resolution?
Should be 039, I think.
I'll second it.
Moved by Supervisor Pyle, seconded by Supervisor Chapman to adopt a resolution granting the variance on this project. Under discussion, Eileen?
It was a motion seconded by whom?
Yes, the motion was seconded by Supervisor Chapman.
Thank you.